Welcome to Westcountry Wanderings and welcome to my monthly vlog for the month of April. I think it's the 21st vlog that I've done since starting the channel well over 2 years ago now. Here we're in a spa town, a delightful and beautiful and little known spa town. We're in the spa town of Tenbury Wells in Worcestershire, in the far northwestern corner of the area that cover, situated on the River Teme. I'm going to show you around the town today, also take you into some orchards, tell you more about the history of the town, as well as telling you what's been happening on the channel. So without further ado, let's go and explore this lovely town here in Worcestershire. Now, the pump rooms were built to boost up tourist trade in this quiet corner of rural Worcestershire. They are open on Friday mornings from 10 to 1 if you want to have a look around. Unfortunately, it's a Tuesday today, so I can't go in. And the Tenbury Town Council offices are based here now too. Now, sadly, making the town a spa town wasn't a huge success. You had springs of the River Teme here, but it never became a rival to the likes of, say, Bath or Leamington Spa, those sort of places. But it is still a quietly attractive town. Well, let's go and have an explore. So if you park in the long stay car park, you'll come out and you'll see some gardens across there. And we're going to go back to explore around Kyle Court. It's K-Y-R-L-E, I believe, named after a brook which enters the River Teme hereabouts. And then you can follow this footpath by once this was a hotel. I think it's now no longer used, sadly, like a lot of hotels and pubs these days. And then we can turn right into the town centre itself. So we've got a little bridge here which takes you over the Kyle Brook. Just have a look at that. And this joins the River Teme, which we will have a look at shortly as well. And that's the Kyle Brook. There you can see the older houses there, probably 18th century, those there. It looks like an oast house just to the left of that. I'll have a closer look at that. And then the pump rooms are just over the other side of that bridge there. It's odd that this newish building is designed like an oast house you would see in Kent, but it's actually part of the town's flood defence scheme. Hides some pumping equipment in there because the town unfortunately has suffered lots of flooding in previous years. And there is a plaque here that tells you more about it. In June 2007, the Teme area experienced a month's rain in just 2 days, and the highest ever river level was recorded. We then had a thunderstorm in July. It flooded again. And there you can see what it looked like. And that's where we are now with that oast house building and what it looked like then back in 2007. It also says that Queen Victoria visiting the town said to refer to Tenbury as the town in the orchard, and that is indeed very, very true. So we're now going to head up the main high street towards the bridge over the River Teme. They have some very old shop buildings and existing shops still, lots of independent shops in this town here. Now, one of the other interesting buildings in the town is the cinema. I'll just show you that. There is Tenbury's cinema, the Regal's Art Deco cinema, and one of the patrons was one Paul Daniels, yes, the magician. He was the patron of the cinema for many years, and he helped to get money together to enable the cinema, which is also used as a theatre, to be completely restored. Looks like coming up this Thursday they've got a performance of The Marriage of Figaro live streamed from the Royal Opera House. It's great that cinemas can do that these days. Now, it's been a really interesting month on the channel, not least to the weather, because it's been tricky filming, because it's been yet again a very wet month. We had a very wet March, and we've so far, almost at the end of April, we've had a very wet April too. So been difficulty trying to fit this vlog in. However, I think I've produced something like 14 videos. Depends how many have gone up by the time you see this one, because I'm not sure of the order that they're going around. At least 12, but possibly 14. The first one of which was Salisbury, which I did as a collaboration with Louise from Southwest Sundays. Now, I love Salisbury. I think it's a fantastic city. I'm not going to say that it's perhaps the finest city in the southwest region, the West Country and into the West Midlands area that I cover, because there are lots of other contenders, including one we've not yet visited, Wells. I love that city too. You have to make your own mind up. I'm not going to say. But yeah, so I met up with Louise there. We met up at the front of the cathedral and we had a grand tour looking around that cathedral there. Had a really, really great comment from Alice Goss, who's a very intrepid traveller all over Europe. She goes, fantastic videos. Why not check out Alice's Goss channel as well as Southwest Sunday if you're not already subscribed to Louise's channel. Why haven't you done that already? You need to do that, because she comes up with some brilliant videos, including one she's recently done down at Lyme Regis too. So she's done that area. So that was a brilliant video. I digress. Alice Goss comments about the cathedral and its height, and I'll just read you what she wrote on the comments section of YouTube. Fascinating city and history. The cathedral is the tallest in England, which we did know about because it is, that spire is just huge. However, this is something that I didn't know about. It's the 21st tallest cathedral in the entire world. I certainly didn't know that. And what Alice says next is really, really interesting. The tallest cathedral in the world is Ulm Minster. I think I've got that pronunciation right, which is in Germany. And I climbed to the top of it last year. Wow, that's amazing. I would love to have climbed to the top of that cathedral, and the views must have been tremendous. I'm not sure what city that is. I'll see if I can find that out and put that in as a subtitle below. But thank you for your comment, Alice. Really appreciate that. And I love doing collaboration with Louise from Southwest Sundays. I'm sure we'll probably do something together again. And there'll probably be other collabs that I do with other channels from time to time as well. So I got myself a takeaway coffee when I was walking around town. Before we continue our walk around the outskirts of this lovely town in Tenbury Wells in Worcestershire, just tell you a little bit more about the history of the town. But in terms of population, the town, well, the last figures I've got from 2011 are 3,777, so less than 4,000 people live here. So it's quite a small town indeed. It hasn't expanded much over recent years either. So it's a nice, quiet and pleasant and very rural town. The main industry is basically farming around, because we are completely surrounded by farmland. Also, a lot of fruit orchards. Now, as well as apples and pears, the other thing that Tenbury Wells is famous for is mistletoe. In a few weeks before Christmas, it has mistletoe markets, and it's one of the main producers of mistletoe for Christmas markets across the UK. Now, I like to think of my channel as a bit of a different mix to other YouTube channels. So we've got a bit of canals, we've got some railways, and we've also got walking ones like the Severn Way, and recently I just uploaded one in East Devon walking along the coast, so we have a mixture of those across the channel, because I always think that variety keeps things nice and fresh. I don't like to just focus in on one thing. And in terms of railways, one of the ones that I've done recently, I've done a couple of railway ones this month, and one of them was a little bit different to my normal railway series. They're either lost railway walks discovering disused lines, or we visit a preserved heritage steam centre, don't we? This next video was none of those things. I went to a very industrial part of Bristol, not the sort of place I would normally feature because my channel tends to be quite rural, like we are here today in lovely rural Worcestershire. And I went to a place near Avonmouth and had a look at a new railway station. Yes, a brand new railway station on the edge of Bristol. And before I showed people what that station was, I visited another station before them, which is really, really interesting. It's very, very industrial, quite a bit run down and rough around the edges, and that's at the station at St Andrews Road, Avonmouth. A very, very odd station indeed. You have to walk over a footbridge to get to its single platform. It's surrounded by used and disused freight lines too. Well, before I went to Portway, I showed you these huge silos, and I didn't know what they were for, and I had a comment from one of the people that look at my channel, and there's a gentleman called Adrian who explained exactly what they are, and I'll read what he said. "Hi Paul, those large silos near St Andrews Road station were used for storing coal. I think the coal was imported from Australia." Wow, all the way out to Australia. "The coal was loaded from the ship onto a conveyor belt system that led right into the silos. The trains loaded up underneath those huge silos that we saw in the video with the coal, and then it was transported to Didcot railway station. Well, we've seen the remains of Didcot railway station in a previous video when I was looking at the railway centre. So thank you, Adrian, for that interesting comment and giving us the feedback that we really needed for that. Wow, isn't it interesting that there? That looks a new sign as well. Fab Four, the Beatles played here. Have they just gone to #1 with their track From Me to You? Wow. So we're now coming up to Team Street, appropriately enough, and the bridge over the River Team. It's a bit difficult filming on this bridge, but just there you'll see there's a marker that says Shropshire, so just over that way takes us out of the Westcountry Wanderings area. And so here I'm half in and half out of the area that I cover on my channel. So the River Team, you may not have heard of it before. It rises close to the River Severn, just south of a town in Powys in the country of Wales that we have visited on the channel previously when doing the Severn Way, and that town is Newtown. So it rises there, makes its way through the southern part of the Cambrian Hills, across the Shropshire Hills, and into Worcestershire here, and it continues down through the county of Worcestershire, and it joins the River Severn just south of the city of Worcester. You may have spotted this building on the other side of the street. It's now used as a foot clinic, but in 1837 this was actually built as the town's workhouse. I'm currently in some plain fields near the town, or on the edge of the town, called the Burgage, which is an ancient word meaning land enclosure of fields surrounding a town. And that is exactly what this is here. Beautiful. They've also got a restored bowling green pavilion here too, but they've got some workmen over there doing some work, so I can't film that. This point here, the edge of the corner of this Burgage, is where our brook, Carroll Brook, and I'm not sure if that's the right pronunciation. I can't quite say it properly, so I'll put it in the spelling again below. You know what I mean. This is where it joins the River Teign, where we saw that wider stretch, wider river that I was talking about, that rises in Wales. And that's where the two, the brook and the river, making their way south towards joining the River Severn, quite a few miles south of here, just below the city of Worcester, the capital of the county that we're currently in here. Now this is perhaps one of the strangest locations I've ever done a piece to camera for one of my vlogs, but I seem to remember in Devon recording myself walking across stepping stones, but never in a monthly vlog before. This is a first. So we come to now to the next video, which was looking for an abandoned church in the River Wye. Just to let you know, this is the Car Brook. That's the name I can't pronounce. That one again, I'll put it down below because I just can't pronounce it. Sorry about that. But yeah, so it's as you can see, it's quite high at the moment, so I can't get across that middle stone behind me because it's covered under water. But I'm quite safe here, hopefully. I really love that place. It's a really hidden corner of Gloucestershire called Lancaut, Lancaut. It's kind of in a loop of the River Wye. And you had that wonderful 13th century church, which is now thankfully looked after by the Forest of Dean Buildings Trust. Anyway, I had a lovely comment about that video, particularly lots of people liked it. It's one of the top viewed videos of the month, and I loved filming it too. It's a very special location, as it is here, just on the outskirts of the town centre of Tenbury Wells, literally just a quarter of a mile from the town here. Beautiful bird song too. And it was from a gentleman called Malcolm Richardson. Hi Malcolm, I do apologise, you had problems writing a couple of comments. YouTube seemed to be taking them off. This happens from time to time. I do apologise for that. It's just one of those random things. A lovely video which reminds me of my own visit in the early 1980s, before the church was in the care of the trust. Indeed, sadly, the reason it came into a trust because the church roof collapsed, but it has now been stabilised, the rest of the building. I once had a conversation with someone whose son used to climb those awesome rocks. Yes, he got those fantastic rocks just on the bend of the River Wye there. In fact, when I was there, I could actually hear some mountaineers climbing up and down those rocks. Not for me. Just peering over the edge was enough for me. Well, yes, me too. Thank you very much for that comment, Malcolm. And it was amazing seeing those climbers going up and down there. But as I was filming, I could just see them out the corner of my eye. I was thinking, oh crikey, I really wouldn't fancy doing that. One of the many interesting things about Tenbury Wells is it's now currently administered by the Malvern Hills District Council. But we're actually quite some distance here from the Malvern Hills. As I say, we're in the far northwest little corner of Worcestershire here, as I say, close to both Herefordshire and Shropshire too. It's a long, convoluted history how it became part of Malvern Hills District Council. It's to do with Leominster and another council which failed. I'll let you read the details. I've put the links in below. I won't go into all the details, but it is now part of Malvern Hills District. And I think that's appropriate because this isn't an urban part of Worcestershire. This is a very rural, just like the Malvern Hills area is too. Now, the history of Tenbury Wells dates back to Iron Age times. Just outside of the town, there's a little village or hamlet called Burford. In fact, it now lies in the county of Worcestershire. It's just over that bridge I showed you earlier in the video, literally just across where that little marker is. That's in Burford. And near there are the remains of a castle, a Norman castle, Motte Bailey Castle. And it was around that side, Castle Tump, that was originally an Iron Age fortification. I don't know if you can see that way or that way, huge piece of mistletoe or pieces of mistletoe on that tree behind me. Just shows you how much mistletoe there is in this area of Tenbury Wells, which is to say what it's famous for. I've just come around a little bit further on a circular walk. I'm now on the edge of Kire Wood Estate. There's that word again that I can't pronounce. Sorry about that. But this has a lot of historical importance. Around these parts was once the site of a 13th century priory, although very little is known about it. Indeed, there's very little remains of it too. I think Time Team did come here many years ago, do an exploration on it. There is Kirewood House just to the north, just beyond the trees at the back of me at the moment too. Now the fourth video was the Easter greetings one. We're not really going to say anything about that. It was just one I put up to wish you happy Easter. It's been and gone already, hasn't it? So quick. The next video was one on my railway series, another one of my railway series, the second one of the month, where I went back to the Dean Forest Railway in the western half of Gloucestershire. In fact, it was the fourth visit I've been to that lovely heritage line in the Forest of Dean. And this time I had a look at the station at Park End, which is the farthest end of the line there. I think it was a Good Friday. It was a beautiful day, Good Friday, and I set up my camera with the tripod on the bridge, looking at the train entering, the steam train entering, and coming out of the station again, and also a tour around that beautiful station. I do remember vividly that bookshop there. Unfortunately, I forgot to go back into it again. I thought, well, I can't carry any books with me because I'm filming. I'll do it at the end, and of course I drove off and forgot all about it, but I'm sure I will be back there again at some future point. Top comment on that video was from a gentleman called John Sparks. Really interesting comment. I'll just read what he put. This video reminds me when I was working on the railways in the 1960s. Yeah, I mean, that must have been a completely different era. Well, indeed it was, but a very different time completely. Must seem everything's changed so much on the railways since the 60s. And of course, Heritage Railways bring some of that back. John continues to write, in the 1960s, I was at Standish Junction signal box as a train recorder. Now, if you're not familiar with that area, Standish Junction is where the lines from Swindon going up to Gloucester, the GWR railway lines, meet the line that comes up from Bristol heading towards Birmingham via Gloucester. And they meet at that point. Used to be 4 tracks there, and they used to have races heading in towards Gloucester and Cheltenham. Yeah, those days are long gone. The track is now joined at that point, and it goes just a double track toward heading in a northerly direction. But he was a train recorder in that signal box, as indeed later on was my godfather. And John doesn't know my godfather, but they must have been there at different times. But it's really interesting to know that. In addition to that, he later went on to be a porter at Stonehouse Burdett Road Station, which is still in existence. That's the main station, or the only station nowadays, for Stonehouse in Gloucestershire. So yeah, thank you very much for that, John. I'm sure you got some wonderful recollections as well. I'd love to hear more about your stories from when you worked in the railways in the 1960s. And thank you for watching the video, and also for commenting too. So now I've left Tenbury Wells, I've just come a couple of miles outside of the town centre, kind of on the direction heading home. I'm near the little village of Berrington, and this is a beautiful lake. It's either pronounced Cadmore or Cademore. It's the Cademore brook that runs through it. There was, or is, I'll say is, a country house hotel just down there. It's currently closed. I'm hoping it's going to reopen because it's a beautiful spot. It looks like they're having some renovations, but I don't know whether it's closed for financial reasons, because obviously we're in very difficult times. There used to be a golf course in this area too, but the land is still managed. There's lots and lots of public footpaths that crisscross it, so I'm not on private land here. I'm just off the footpath, but the grounds, thankfully, are still maintained. There's beautiful trees around, and you can walk to several different villages all around here, and it is nice and quiet too. And I've got the place to myself. There's just a couple of builder guys down in by the hotel there, and that's about it. So it's a beautiful location here. Video number 6 for the month of April was one back on the Thames and Severn Canal, one of my canal series. But it wasn't one of the updates that I do, or indeed telling about the history of the canal. It was the first of the boat trips for the summer season. The ones I showed were coming out of a place called Warbridge, which is in fact where the Stroudwater and Thames and Severn canals meet in the centre of Stroud in the southern part of Gloucestershire, the southern part of the Cotswolds. And they have a boat called Perseverance, sometimes it's pronounced Perseverance, that's how it's spelt anyway. Really agile craft, as one of the commentators mentioned, and I just went along there to film it. What I decided to do was film it from lots of different hopefully scenic locations as it was coming under the viaduct underneath the railway line and going around bends and coming up to the lock too at Warbridge. And it's good to see that lots of people were taking up the opportunity of having boat trips. Those boat trips continue right through the summer. I think they take it in turns. So one weekend it goes from a place called Ebley, which is where the council offices are. The other weekend it's from the centre of Stroud. I'll put a link in today's video again, so if you want to have a look out for those boat trips, then why not pop along, because any money that goes for the fare, I think it's just like £5. It's a 25 or 30 minute ride on the boat there. You'll get a trip, and I'm hoping to do one of those later in the year so we get some shots from the boat too. I had a top comment from a gentleman called David Berlani. Hi David, who lives in Spain, and he writes, "The Perseverance is a fast and highly manoeuvrable craft." Yes, I think he went on to put in the comment about it, or maybe that was because I'd speeded the film up. Well, and a couple of other people mentioned that it wasn't speeded up. That was actually as fast as I showed it in real time, basically. It wasn't speeded up, there's no camera trickery, it was what it was. And you can see it really nipping round, well, almost 90-degree bends at quite some speed. Really skilled boatsman that's been operating that on behalf of the Cotswold Canals Trust. So thank you if you watched and commented on that video. Now this month on my 7-way journey we got to episode number 14, which is a stretch from the town of Bridgnorth to the little village of Highley, both of which of course connected by the Severn Valley steam railway. And luckily while I was walking along the 7-way, the SVR was actually in steam, so as I was heading to the village of Highley I caught glimpses of steam trains going up and down the SVR railway line, which was great to see. I also managed to include a tour of the town of Bridgnorth, which I wasn't able to do at the end of 7-way 12 of course. And I hope next time to go all the way back down to Bewdley. Had a top comment from that. It's a gentleman called Stephen Chappell who lives not far away from the area. Hi Stephen, regularly comments on my videos. Appreciate all your additional input and your excellent knowledge too. Stephen writes, "It's hard to believe Bridgnorth Castle was once comparable in size to that of Ludlow. In fact, Ludlow isn't that far from where I am today. It's about 7 or 8 miles to the northwest of here. And it's also just outside my area, of course, because it's in Shropshire, with the earthworks on Pan Pudding Hill," just love that name, "indicating a siege castle built by King John." So yeah, that's really going back in time. Thank you very much, Stephen, for your additional input to that. So yeah, I was very impressed with Bridgnorth. It's just a fantastic town. I didn't have time to explore all the remains and remnants of Pan Pudding Hill, but it is, if you want to see it, is quite close to where Bridgnorth SVR station is too. Now last month I went to the North Somerset town of Clevedon and had a look at their magnificent pier there. Just over the border into Somerset proper there is a resort with a very big beach. Now I had heard of this place and it's called Breen. There are lots of campsites there and it's a very popular place. So we had a look at the beach there. And I also decided to go up and have a look at Breen Down. Now from the top of Breen Down, you can have a look right down onto the vast expanse of Breen Sands. It really is an incredible place. And I think I mentioned in the video, I think it is probably the finest beach in all of Somerset. It is just absolutely tremendous. It has really high quality soft sand too, none of this mud business or shingle. It is absolutely first class. The only thing it doesn't have is the sea is quite a way out, although it does come in again very fast. The other thing about it is a very windy location. On the subject of wind, and I had a top comment from another YouTuber called Jesse. The channel's called Walk with Jesse. I think he's only recently started YouTube. Why not check his channel out? I put a link in the description of today's. I think he lives in that kind of area. He's done two or three videos from Brean now. And he wrote, one of my strongest memories of Brean is how windy it gets. Oh yes, it certainly got windy when I was there. So it was rather odd when I was there at the weekend when it was replaced with a more gentle breeze. Yes, thank you, Jesse. And if you have a look at Jesse's video of Brean, you'll see it was like a very, very calm day, completely different to what it was when I was there just before Easter. Jesse goes on to write a really interesting point, because from the top of Brean down you can look across Western Bay, and from there you can see Burnbeck Pier. That's the old pier that connects it to Burnbeck Island, and it has been in a state of disrepair for many, many years. Well, Jesse goes on to write that North Somerset Council have won their appeal to buy Burnbeck Pier back from its owner, which means that it should start to be restored soon. Now, that wouldn't be that fantastic to see Burnbeck Pier just like it is at Clevedon, its closest neighbour just to the north of Weston. I'd certainly love to see that, and I would certainly film that when it's restored, or indeed as the restoration process takes place. I had 2 more videos that have been published this month as of the time I record this, so probably a couple more, but obviously people wouldn't have commented that, so I'm not going to mention those as yet. The next one was one in my Cotswold Walk series, number 15, when I went to a location called Stretton-on-Foss in South Warwickshire, lies just to the west of the Roman road that runs between Lincoln and Exeter. But more about that in a second from one of my commenters. It was interesting, a walk enjoyable, apart from the fact that I was going to cry. If you've seen the video, I won't really giving anything to let you know that I planned a circular walk, but the footbridge, which was supposed to take me across the Knee Brook, yes, that's the name of it, was out. There was no footbridge there, so I couldn't actually get across it, which meant I had to backtrack and then drive my car around to the original location where I was going to finish the video. I had a lovely comment from a lady called Diana Rolfe. Hi Diana, who regularly comments on my videos now. She's a fairly new subscriber, so welcome to Westcountry Wanderings. And she writes, I read that the Foss Way has hardly any habitation on it. Well, there aren't a lot of towns that it links up. Say at the far end you've got Exeter and Lincoln at the other end, 2 important Roman cities, of course. You have Corinium, which is Cirencester, but that lies just slightly to the right of it. And there isn't much else there. All the other bigger settlements are kind of dispersed away from that. And also she writes that it started not at Exeter, but in a place called Axmouth, and that's somewhere I do want to look at, which had a large Roman port. Indeed so. So what the current thinking is that as the Foss Way heads south towards Exeter, Isca, wasn't it? Isca Dominium, Dobrinium? I can't remember the right pronunciation. I'll put that in the bottom. That's the Roman name for Exeter. It was an important Roman fortress in Roman days. So you've got like it fought, so it kind of went off towards Exeter, and then there was a spur towards Axmouth. And the reason it went in Axmouth, because that was where the Roman port was. So you had a fortress at Exeter, a port at Axmouth. So it kind of went to both places. So the extremity of it is indeed Axmouth. So thank you, Diana, for that additional piece of information. Finally this month I put up a kind of a new series, a newish series. Well, I have done a couple similar before, so it's one of my short bite series, and I have done ones where I've just used photographs before, no video, but in those I've done a bit of like an introduction, a talked introduction to it, or a bit of voiceover. This one wasn't that. This was purely photographs, and with just music, and that was it basically. So quite a simple format, and I wanted to see how that format would go. So I'm testing the water. Don't worry, it's not replacing any of my existing. We're still going to get Cotswold walks and railway series, canal series, and bits and pieces in Devon and Cornwall. That's still all going to happen. It's not replacing any of those. It's an addition to, and I'll probably add one of these little videos in. They're only about 6 or 7 minutes long, and the first one was on the subject of Shipston on Stour. So they'll also have just one theme to it. It could be a place, it could be a say a location, it could be anything really, but it'll all be around one particular theme. And the theme of this one was the town of Shipston on Stour, which is near where I'd done that walk earlier in the day, and I just went around my camera late one Sunday afternoon looking at that wonderful town there. And I had a comment from a gentleman who lives not too far away. I think he lives Chipping Norton way, just over the border in Oxfordshire. A gentleman called Ron, who, again, he has his own YouTube channel. Brilliant channel if you are interested in railways. He's now retitled it, so the name of the channel is Abandoned Railway Adventures. So if you want to know more about the tramway to Moreton and to the old GWR branch to Shipston on Stour, then check out his. He's got another one coming up in the next month or so about those two very things, and we saw some of that in the walk that I did earlier on that day. He writes, "You captured the character of Shipston. The locals are friendly and will always stop for a chat. I think the local museum is in the process of moving." Yeah, a couple of points there. The people are very friendly, so thanks for that, Ron. Really great comment. The people there, they're very friendly. It's the only place I've been to where I've just put the old viewfinder up to the eye, press the shutter, and there'll be somebody and they would stop as I was taking the photographs, so they weren't in the photo. Sometimes I don't actually mind people being in the photo because it adds to the photo, but yeah, often pieces will just walk in front of you. They'll literally come right up in front of you, even though they can see you using a camera. But no, there were very polite people there, and people did say hello. Nobody was like really funny with me because I was going around with the camera at all. Very friendly town. It's got lots of independent shops there too, which I was really impressed with. And I did see a building. It had a newish sign saying museum. I think it was near where the co-op is, and it was empty inside. So I think that is where the museum's going to be moved to. So perhaps if I'm out that way next time, I'll pop in there and have a look at the museum. So that was all for the month. So it's 10 videos. A couple more. I've just put up this morning a walk from Exmouth indeed, to Budley Salterton. And in the next day or two, probably after or before you'll see this one, there'll be a railway series one in that area, so have a look out for that. But as I say, that's only just gone up, so I don't know what the comments on those are yet, so I can't tell you about that. Just want to close the video by telling you a little bit about what's coming up for the month of May. No, I haven't set up the campfire. Just to tell you what's coming up. Well, what's coming up, basically this month we had a couple of railway ones, didn't we? We had a Canal one with the boat trip, got more Canal ones coming up in May. We had a Devon one, or you may or may not have seen that one yet, but yeah, that was Budley Salterton. There's another one in Devon, which will land in April. What was missing? We had some Somerset stuff. The main thing that was missing, of course, was we had nothing from Cornwall. We haven't had anything from Cornwall for a while. I'm actually going to be staying in Cornwall for a few days in May, so hopefully there will be able to chance to film in and around some places in Cornwall. The lesser known ones, I'm going to focus on those. There'll be places that hopefully you've probably not discovered before. So I'm looking forward to bringing those sort of videos to you on the channel throughout the month of May. Hopefully there's going to be some dry days, so I'm going to get back on the Severn Way again to get down to the beautiful town of Bewdley. I'm really looking forward to doing that. I'm looking forward to doing a couple of Canal ones. I've promised it before, but we had so many wet days this month I just couldn't get to it. So Somerset Coal Canal is going to be coming up again, and the Wilts and Berks Canal, probably around the town of Swindon. So there's lots of things going on with the Wilts and Berks in that area, so I hope to bring you that. And possibly, I can't promise, but possibly a Stradwater and Thames and Severn Canal update, which will be number 14, I think, if memory serves. Hopefully that'll be landing. If not, it'll spill over into June. But thank you all so much for your contributions, your comments, your lovely likes, shares, and if you subscribe to the channel during the month and for continuing to subscribe to the channel, I do very much appreciate it all. It really means so much to me, and it enables me to keep the channel going. I'd love to know what you think of today's vlog. There'll be another one towards the end of next month, towards the end of May. Hope you have a brilliant month, and thank you for watching Westcountry Wanderings and viewing my channel. Take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and I hope to see you on the channel again very soon. All the best for now. Cheers. Goodbye.